Hello, I'm sexologist Anil Martinez here at MYHIXEL, and I'm going to talk about something that I see on everyday basis with the patients/clients. And it's something that may bother a lot of people, and it's bathroom anxiety. I want to talk about it more profoundly and just to see what are the things that really affect to men. So as I mentioned, as a sexologist, there are a lot of things I see on everyday consults. And as a lot of you know, we try to adapt to your needs, to the problems, to the situations that may be carrying through your lives. And something that I have seen over the past years, so there's a pattern to every session I have, and there's a common root, and it's the anxiety. But what's below that is not having control. And men or people or women, when they don't have control, they have insecurities. And that means that they're up here in their mind and they're just not performing as well as they would want to. So let's talk about a little bit more about this. So this may lead to not having control of the ejaculation or losing the erection. So what's happening here is that many men are just focused on pleasing their partner and the outcome and just be like, am I able to satisfy them? So I've got people who have been on the set mind that they prefer to masturbate before or rather than having sexual encounters with their partner. Don't get me wrong. Self-pleasure is a good thing and I do encourage it, but having this anxiety in between playing a big role is affecting your sexuality overall. So I want you to think about, is this something that I would rather do? Or is it something that I am just not comfortable doing because I'm afraid of something? So let's talk about what's really sexual anxiety. So this is a concept that's related to anxiety, but it's most related to the sexual performance. So we're talking about an excessive concern about the sexual experience. What really the people think about is the fear of rejection, fear of intimacy, because the other person will have thoughts, will be judged. And we don't want that. We don't want to feel that we're being looked upon or judged. If I do something, will this be wrong? If I don't perform well, will this be wrong? And we all want to be loved. And the thing is that if we don't feel loved or appreciated, we will have sexual anxiety. And that means that you will not be comfortable with yourself nor with another person. You may be asking yourselves, what is the cause of sexual anxiety? Okay, let's be clear. This is like an umbrella. There are a lot of factors that could be affecting, and we can be like, oh, this is the major one, this is the big one, or this is the prioritized one that leads to everything, rather than just a complex system. But we can talk about the anticipatory anxiety. Is when we anticipate something before it happens. Just having thoughts of preoccupation, like fear of something, unrealistic expectations of what might happen. And that's when we spiral in our head and just focus on our thoughts. And that's when the anxiety comes, when we cannot stop those thoughts overall. And those intrusive thoughts take over our whole experience, our whole body. And that's what really affects everything, such as not having control over the ejaculation, not having control over the erection, and not having control of our pleasure. Furthermore, communication problems with our partner can worsen it a little bit, because when we're not open to talk about something that concerns to us because we are afraid, or we might seem like we are crazy or not being understood, that's where our anxiety increases. And the other thing I wanted to mention is pornography. Don't get me wrong, porn is the science fiction of sex. So, but saying this is that it's not real. But we humans tend to see porn as something related to reality, and it's nothing like that. Their performance that is a performance that is meant to be that way, and we don't know what's going behind that, and if they take pills or if they train in a certain way, if they're, there's a lot of things that we cannot replicate in real life, and having that thought that we have to perform as we see the performances on porn, that's not going to help at all, because it's false expectations on our body and of our brain and our thoughts that is just too much, just to not concentrating all of that and just trying to be like, hey, I need you to work as I want you to work. So that's not how the brain works at all. The next question is, how do I know if I have sexual anxiety? What are the symptoms? Well, as I mentioned, it's different for everybody, but what I see on the sessions I carry out is, first of all, erectile dysfunction. When we don't feel safe on a place, our body just responds as, hey, is this a threat? Do I have to have the fight or flight response? So our body's concentrated on just one thing, just to be safe. If we are not safe here, our body will be just sending signals to our whole body, just like, hey, fly away and just find a safer place to be. So that means that having anxiety can lead to loss of erection. So that's one of the most common things I see on the session. Another thing is decrease of sexual pleasure, because once again, we're in here and we're not concentrating on the other person, on the touch, on the warmth, on the kisses, and we're just concentrated in, hey, what am I going to do? Am I able to satisfy this person? Am I able to give it all? Am I able to perform? Will I last longer? So all of these thoughts just consume us all, and we're not in the present. We're not there. So that decrease of not being present will decrease our pleasure overall. So that's another thing I see on the session. And of course, sexual anxiety can lead up to premature ejaculation, because there's another sexual response, what I mentioned before about the fight or flight response. So here is the opposite. The body needs to propagate the genes. So in order to do that, it would just ejaculate immediately and just flight. So it's more of a fight-ish concept, but then flight. So our body is just trying to do something, but our mind is telling us otherwise. So there's a lot of different symptoms that could be affecting on the sexual anxiety, but these overall are the most common I see on everyday basis. So if you think that you may be experiencing these symptoms, you might be like, hey, Anel, what can I do to just relax that anxiety a little bit? So first of all, communication. And you may be like, oh yeah, I know, like, communication is everything. But it really is. Being vulnerable with your partner actually open up a whole new world. They see us as we are, and there's nothing wrong with it. They see us as, hey, I'm a human being, I have these intrusive thoughts, and I do want to pleasure you, and I do want to satisfy you, but I'm just so stuck up in here that I cannot be on the present. And what happened is that communicating these concerns with our partner will actually help us, will actually release the tension that we're gathering up in here. So just having an open conversation like, hey, I do want to please you, I do want to be there for you, and I do want to have a great experience with you. But I do have this concern. Just by doing that, you just release a lot of tension. So that's very good to do. And the next thing is discussing expectations, desires, and just overall pleasure. What I expect of this, what are my desires on bed, and what are the things that I like and don't like. Just being open with that person that you really like. So if this person likes you back, they will most likely be helpful and will try to solve this problem together. So that's a very good thing to start with. The next thing to talk about is, hey, sex doesn't have to be perfect. It's not a performance. It's not like, hey, action. It's not like that. It's just two human beings or more trying to connect with each other, trying to have good time. And it doesn't matter if you have an orgasm or the other doesn't have an orgasm. If maybe there's a little giggle, if there's like a hair in the mouth, because this doesn't have to be perfect. That's what makes it beautiful, that it's not something that you expect and be like, oh, it happened exactly as I imagined. There has to be this part of creativity and just go a little bit with the flow. Just to think about it, it doesn't have to be perfect. And if that night or that day you didn't have a full erection, that's okay. What are the other things that we can do about it? What do you like? Do you want me to, I don't know, play with my hands, play with my mouth? Do we have a sex toy? So there are a lot of things that can work on to manage with that sexual anxiety. Ultimately, it is crucial to understand that sexual anxiety is very, very common, and it's treatable. To understand what's the underlying issue and what's happening right there under the layers of the surface, it is very important to do so. So I encourage you to contact me or contact any other professional on sexology, just to be understood, to be heard, and work in a common place to find a solution for both you and your partner, and just to meet your needs. So we're here for you, and I hope you like this video. If you have any other concerns, any other questions that you have in mind, don't hesitate to comment us or just reach to us, and we will be more than happy to help you through this journey. So if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe just to see a little bit more about this type of content. And if you want to know more or read more, we're going to leave in the description our blog site where you can just watch different types of information related to sexual well-being for men and as well for couples. And well, that would be all for today, and thank you.